Hello, welcome to Beta Feminist Podcast, the podcast where we talk about feminist issues from the perspective of an African woman living in Africa. I am your resident Beta Feminist host, Ijoma. Today we'll be talking about misandry. Is misandry a thing? Is it deadly? Are feminists misandrists? This is an interesting topic because people talk about how feminists are misandrists who hate men, and then they try to compare misandry to misogyny. We're going to examine it today in full details. Let's start with the meaning of misogyny. Misogyny is the hatred of women, contempt for women, prejudice against women. While misandry, likewise, is hatred of men or pathological aversion to men. Just because the opposite of the word misogyny is misandry doesn't mean both are the same or have equal impact. In order to find out if misogyny and misandry are the same or if misandry is real, we are going to compare and contrast some things today. Let's start by talking numbers. If really feminists are actually misandrists, how many are they? Let's start with Nigeria. How many feminists are in Nigeria? How many fake feminists or misandrists exist in your state? If you're living in Kwara State, if you're living in Lagos, if you're living in Imo State, how many feminists are in your state? Fake feminists who are masquerading but are actually misandrists. How many of them exist in your state? Maybe 5, 10, at most 20. Now compare these your 20 misandrists who hate men to actual billions of men who are misogynists and hate women. In the game of numbers, misandry fails woefully. How do you claim misandry is harmful or on the same level as misogyny when you cannot name up to 10 misandrists in your state? If you ask men to name misandrists, they will likely name 3 or more popular online feminists. Emphasis on the word online. They're not talking about misandrists they know. Misandrists next door. Misandrists in their offices. Misandrists in their churches. Misandrists in their mosques. Misandrists in their schools. The ones they know, the ones they point at, the ones they use as example and say, oh, feminists are actually misandrists, are online feminists that have a large platform. And that is what we are supposed to use and compare to literally billions of misogynists, both online and offline. Now, let's go to the second point. When men bitch and moan about misandrists, my go-to question is, what has misandry cost you? Share what you have experienced as a result of misandry. In your life as a man, what challenges have you faced because of misandry? Have you been raped by a misandrist? Groped at the market by a misandrist? Sexually harassed by a misandrist? Refused a job or promotion you're qualified for by a misandrist? Experienced domestic violence in the hands of a misandrist? Just tell me, let me know, what exactly is it that you as a man bitching and moaning about how feminists are actually misandrists and how misandrists are overtaking the platform, overtaking the movement? What have you suffered? What loss have you encountered because of a misandrist? And most times I get nothing. The only thing they can hold on to, the only thing they can say misandrists did to them is a couple of posts on Twitter or Facebook that hurt their little feelings. And I'm always quick to ask, how has a couple of men as come posts by, let's say, 3 misandrists you blocked on Facebook affected your life? Misogynists don't make women as composts. They rape women. They grope women at the market. They sexually harass women. They refuse women jobs, promotions. They beat women. They kill women. Now, if I ask a group of women, share what you've experienced as a result of misogyny, I'm going to keep on getting responses till the cows come home. It's not going to be, oh, he made a post and said women has come. No, it's not going to be, they have a platform where they discuss women. No, it's going to be real life consequences, real life experiences, sexual abuse, sexual harassment, killings, beatings. These are the reasons why whenever people try to compare misogyny to misandry, it's like an empty joke. It's like comparing a drop of water to the Pacific Ocean. Let's keep going. Let me ask a third question. How many real life misandrists do you know? How many have you met? Ask any woman. We meet misogynists every day we leave our house. We live in constant fear of men. How many times have you as a man walked home late at night and felt unsafe because women who might be misandrists might rape or attack you? How many times have you been the only man in a bus filled with women and you wondered if amongst those women were misandrists who would rob and rape you? How many times have you gone to work and you were worried that your misandrist boss would sexually harass you? Point is, how many misandrists do you know in real life? And the thing about comparing misandrists with misogynists is, misogyny is sometimes subtle. A misogynist doesn't necessarily have to kill you or rape you for him to be a misogynist. When you go to the market, the man that calls you ashawo just because you refuse to patronize him or buy his goods or check out whatever it is he's selling is a misogynist. He didn't have to rape you, he didn't have to kill you, but he said that to you simply because you're a woman. Misogyny can be subtle. When you go to church and your priest talks about how women are now the people causing men to do yahoo, these are offshoots of misogyny. When a priest comes to Facebook to say, iPhone 14 is out, women are now going to do this and do that, and he says it like a joke, and people go there and haha, oh priest, you're so funny, oh father, you're so funny, you see the things that happen in the world, I didn't even know you notice all these things. That is misogyny at play. He didn't have to touch you, he didn't have to say women are scum for it to be misogyny. Now if you flip it, this misandry men are always talking about how feminists are misandrists. How many times have you gone to a church and you felt attacked? As a man, you don't have to go to work and worry that your female boss might grope you, or that your female boss will tell you your package looks very good in this trouser. You don't have to go to the market and worry that the madam that sells beans or rice is going to grope you or is going to call you an ashawo if you refuse to patronize her. You don't have to worry that you would be on your own walking towards wherever it is you're going to and somebody would just scream ashawo. Men have it so good that a man can just literally whip out his penis anywhere and urinate and not be sexually harassed. A woman can't even breastfeed her own child in public without having people tell her she's trying to seduce them. Madam, packing your breast, madam this, madam that. But men would literally stop at any place they like, at any gutter, in full glare of people, bring out their penis, urinate in public, tap their penis 1, 2, 3 and put it back. If a woman would try that, would just come out at any place and squat down to pee, I think that woman would be lynched. That is how good men have it, that you can literally go out naked, bring out the most private of your body parts and nobody would flinch. We are so used to it. But let a girl wear a top that shows her cleavage. There are so many videos of women getting lynched in Lagos market, in Onitsha market, because they wore something men consider indecent. These same men would wear their trousers and sag it so down that you would see the center part of their ass. You will see it there. But let a woman wear something that showcases her cleavage and that is it. Men have it so good. So when you talk about misandry, what exactly are you trying to say? How exactly have you as a man been harassed, abused by women simply because you're a man? Look, there is nothing like misandry. Ijama said it. Comparing misandry to misogyny is a big unfunny joke. Misogyny is institutionalized and weaponized. When I say misogyny is institutionalized, an example is internalized misogyny. There are lots of women who, even though they are women, are misogynists themselves. It is called internalized misogyny. We'll get into that much later on this podcast. But let me just give you a rundown. Women who experience internalized misogyny express it by minimizing the value of women, mistrusting women, and believing gender bias in favor of men. Like if a rape case occurs, they are quick to support men, they are quick to make excuses for men, they are quick to throw women under the bus. It's just like Uncle Rufus in the animated TV series The Boondocks. He believed black people were inferior and revered white people as his lord, which was crazy because he was black himself. Likewise, there are millions of women who believe and support the default patriarchal system feminists seek to dethrone. We call them patriarchy princesses. They are active misogynists and gatekeepers of patriarchy. That is one example of how misogyny is systemic. However, there is nothing like internalized misandry. You don't see men who hate their gender so much that they are quick to dethrone the patriarchal system. You don't see men who minimize the value of their fellow men, who mistrust their fellow men, and who believe gender bias in favor of women every single time. You don't see men that when a rape story breaks out, they are quick to say, maybe the man is at fault, and they do this every single time. A man who claims to be a feminist ally can do this once, but he doesn't do it every single time. You don't see men who go out of their way to dethrone the oppressive structures that are in place in the little way he can. That goes to show you that misandry cannot be institutionalized the way misogyny is. In fact, if a man treats his woman well, he's ridiculed and called a simp. Imagine how much he would be ridiculed if he is actively trying to dethrone patriarchal standards, if he's trying to always be on the side of women, just the way it is normal for some women to always be on the side of men. There are women who are so vocal about their support for men in any case. When a man beats his wife, the woman is there saying, you don't know what the woman did. Sometimes now we woman they cause why man they beat us. Or if you're submissive to your husband, you know go they beat you. Sometimes make we know they run our mouth. These are things you see from women who are internalized misogynists. But you can't see this. On the other hand, there are no men who portray signs of internalized misandry, and that goes to show you that misandry cannot be institutionalized. If a woman is a misandrist, she avoids men in real life. The most she can do is to make posts on social media where she might get likes, but she also gets plenty insults. If a man hates women, he does not avoid them. He goes out of his way to date them. He goes out of his way to meet them. He goes out of his way to rape them, beat them, marry them, stop their progress in the workplace, even kill them. We are talking of a world where cis women are killed every hour by men. Most of these men are men in their own families or their partners. And this is not just something I made up. This is a verifiable statistics according to WeForum. How many men per hour are killed by the women in their lives? 0. So you can't compare misandry to misogyny. This is a world where we have male serial killers who target and kill scores of women. I'm not talking about only foreign serial killers like Ted Bundy, who killed over 36 women. I'm talking about here in Nigeria too. Can anybody remember the Port Harcourt serial killer who killed women, dozens of women, and was praised because he was ridding the world of prostitutes? That is an example of how misogyny can be weaponized. Nobody paid this man any mind. He kept on killing women, and the death toll was increasing by the day. Every other week, you'd hear that a woman was killed in Port Harcourt. Nobody cared. What people kept on saying, especially people in power, what they kept on saying is, it's prostitutes that he's killing. And that is one way that misogyny can be weaponized, because women do not matter. Therefore, their deaths also do not matter. The same cannot be said of misandry. No matter how much a woman in power hates a man, she cannot use her position in power to stop the investigation of several deaths of men, no matter how useless those men are in the society. If every week men were being killed in Port Harcourt and it's obvious that it's murder, no matter how much the person in power, maybe the commissioner of police in Port Harcourt, no matter how much of a misandrist she is, she cannot stop the investigation. She cannot say, it's cultists that are dying. Somebody above her would make sure that investigation continues. Somebody below her would make sure. You can't teach misandry. Misandry is just one person's thing. It's not something that can be systemic. It's not something that can be copied. It's not something that can be taught. Let's not even talk about the random femicides disguised as rituals. A serial killer will kill dozens of women in Nigeria, mutilate them, and dump them on the road. The murders are never investigated or solved because we are accustomed to misogyny. So instead of investigating the murders, we call the women prostitutes and call it ritual killing and move on. That is how we do it. How many female serial killers do you know? Not just in Nigeria, but the world as a whole. I can easily name 20 male serial killers who targeted women alone. Can you name 10 female serial killers who targeted men alone? We are in a world where a woman wearing something considered indecent is groped and stripped naked in the market, while a man can wear whatever he likes. How many men have been groped and publicly stripped naked for what they wore? So this is why I will keep on saying that there is nothing like misandry. Misandry is powerless. It is not systemic. It cannot be taught. It cannot be weaponized. We live in a patriarchal society. Therefore, misogyny can be easily taught consciously and subconsciously. It can be consciously taught by directly telling men that women are inferior in schools, in online platforms, everywhere. It can be subconsciously taught through media that promote violence and irreverence to women, via songs, movies, books, and every content around us. However, you cannot teach misandry. If somebody is a misandrist, she cannot dilute the pool. It is ultimately powerless. People compare it to reverse racism, and I think that's a wrong analogy. People say women too can be misandrists because, black people too can be racist. After all, if a black person has a position of power, that black person can use that position of power to be racist towards white people. And I don't think that's a fair analogy in this case. I think a better analogy to me is humans eat cows. Yes, human kill cows. We use cows. If in a year one cow mauls one person, you can't come out and say, cows kill human. They are the same thing. They are not the same thing. Humans are known to kill cows. One cow mauling one person does not mean that the billions of cows killed every year equates that one cow mauling one person. I don't know how else to put it, but that is not even on the same plane. You can't compare both at all. I think it's very dishonest to compare misandry to misogyny, or to bring up misandry when women talk about misogyny. I've been called a misandrist so much that I've gladly embraced the tag. And one of the reasons I embraced the tag is because misandry is nothing but a tag. It is ultimately powerless. It is a useless tag. It does nothing. Being a misandrist doesn't do anything, especially because of the society we are in. Online feminists whom you believe are actually misandrists have zero impact in your life. The same cannot be said about a misogynist. The online feminists who make posts and say men are this, men are that, or try to raise awareness about toxic masculinity, male superiority, and all of that, they are not going to find you and kill you. But misogynists actually go out of their way to find women, trace them, stalk them, kill them, rape them, maim them. So summarily, misandry is not a thing. It cannot hurt anybody. It is nothing but a tag. And because of the society we stay in, it's not something that will evolve tomorrow to become something huge. Because we are in a patriarchal society, misandry will be a tag for a long time. So you cannot compare misogyny to misandry. One is a movement, one is weaponized, one is systemic, the other is just a tag. That's all for today. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode of Bitter Feminist Podcast. Follow us at Bitter Feminist Podcast on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok. You can drop your contributions, questions, or even hot takes on any of our social media platforms. I'm still your host, Ijoma. See you on our next episode. Bye.